Thank you for listening to Stories at Pink Meow Meow Audio. Hope you enjoy the story. If someone told me that at 25 years old I would marry a stranger just because your parents got engaged during the Cold War, I'll laugh in their faces and tell them, you've been watching too many movies. But this is real life. And there I was standing at the table, signing the marriage certificate, pen in hand, next to a man as handsome and aloof as if he had stepped out of a high-end fashion magazine poster. His name is Bakcom Do. As for me, I'm Ha Ki-san, a freelance interior designer, loves beauty, is addicted to milk tea, and is allergic to the 4 words, arranged marriage. My father, a retired businessman with an incomparable romantic soul, took out an old handwritten marriage contract in ink saying that he and his best friend had been in laws since their army camp days. I thought you were joking. By the time my mom took me to meet my future son-in-law, I just wanted to wrap myself in a box and write return on the outside. No exchange, no refund. But life doesn't give you a cancel button. 3 days later, I was sitting here in the marriage registration office. In front of me was a bright red file with the solemn words of the marriage certificate printed on it, and a man named Bakcom Do was pouring me tea. I glanced over. He was wearing a white shirt, gray jacket, expensive watch on his wrist, calm demeanor, expressionless face. A cold but kind CEO, a rare commodity that only exists online. He spoke first, his voice as deep as a violin playing at court. If you feel uncomfortable, we can stop. I don't want to force anything. I squinted. You call me baby? Oh, sorry. He paused and smiled faintly, but couldn't hate it. This person is clearly the type who is smiling but not happily, but still polite enough to make people feel kind. Honestly, if we weren't talking about a lifetime, I would have nodded and said, leave me to you. But I still have some sanity left. I stared at the marriage certificate, half jokingly asking, aren't you afraid? Marrying someone you don't even know what they like, what they hate, whether they snore or not? Bakcom Do smiled, his eyes slightly lowered, his voice light. You know I like milk tea without sugar, don't eat green onions. I'm afraid of fried food, and I like the color gray. I don't snore, but I grind my teeth when I daydream. Also, I have a habit of listening to music at night, but always keep the volume low because I'm afraid of disturbing others. Wait, what the hell? Are you following me? I asked, half joking, half truthful, but my brain was on red alert. He shook his head, his eyes not avoiding. No, I just remember. Just remember. It sounded like a confession wrapped in cold wrapping paper. I was about to ask more when the registration office staff called Ha Ki-san's name, Mrs. Com Do, and invited the two of them to come in and sign the papers. And so, before I could question, I was dragged away like a lamb into a wedding pen. We signed with black ink, red paper, and a red round stamp was stamped on my name, very loud, very impressive, very fateful. I turned to him and saw that he was still calm, not shaking his hands, not frowning. Your signature is so beautiful, it makes me angry. Is there anyone who signs a marriage certificate as handsome as that? That's it? I asked. Yes. He nodded. From now on, you are my wife. Damn, my heart just skipped a beat. On the way home, I sat next to him in the car, my face as stiff as frozen fish balls. Can we live separately? I tried to probe. Are not, he replied calmly. His parents would be suspicious. You can choose to stay upstairs or downstairs, it's up to you. I can move to the living room if you feel uncomfortable. Why is being nice so annoying? I cleared my throat. Okay, but I have a few conditions that don't interfere with my personal life. Don't check my phone, don't ask too many questions, don't call me wife in front of strangers. Agree, he nodded. Oh, and one more thing. I turned to say more when I caught him looking at me. Very attentive. He asked softly, call me Ki-san. Is that okay? I'm confused. It's up to you. He laughed. This time, it's really frickin' funny. So beautiful. That evening, I walked into the penthouse apartment he had prepared. Everything is perfect, clean, exquisite. On the living room table, there is a cup of I Like brand unsweetened milk tea with white pearl topping. I paused, looked at the cup of tea, then turned to him. Did you order this? Are not, he replied calmly. Seasoned butler. But you told me. I took a sip of tea and sighed. Damn it, this one is just right. Looks like this marriage won't be as bad as I thought it was. I just needed to figure out why this stranger knew me better than I knew myself. The next morning, I woke up in a strange room. The sunlight shining through the curtains made me forget where I was. It took me 3 seconds to remember. Oh yeah, I'm married. Specifically, marrying silver-tongued Comdu, the cold-faced CEO. Who knows my breakfast preferences? The person with the face that even photo editing apps feel redundant? I sat up and looked around. The bedroom was spacious, the sheets were better than my skin, and there was a faint scent of sandalwood. There was no smell of male hormones, which meant there was no wedding night. Thank goodness, and thank that suspiciously polite husband. I walked out of the room yawning and looking for water when I saw a steaming cup of coffee already placed on the kitchen table. No, wait. Loose-leaf coffee, a little unsweetened milk, and a thin layer of flowers. I like it, not a drop-off. I looked around, suspecting that I was playing the main role in a fantasy movie about marrying a CEO and living like a princess. At that moment, Mrs. Comdu walked out of the office holding a jackfruit tab, her shirt still as flat as if it had just been laser ironed. "You awake?" I frowned, intending to correct the way I addressed him, but he spoke first. "Oh, Kisan?" Sounded a little better. I pointed to the coffee. "He ordered this?" "Yes, I told the maid yesterday." I took a sip. Oh my God, it smells so good. Bitter enough to wake up, but not harsh. I would have fallen into the love trap myself. "How did you know I like the style? I still haven't given up on investigating your background. I saw you order on the app 3 years ago." I rolled my eyes. "You saved my order history?" He looked up from the tablet, shrugged. "I just remember. I swear, if you say that a few more times, I'll have to buy another pillow to scream every night." For breakfast, I sat eating toast while he read the newspaper. The air was so quiet that you could hear the clock ticking. I joke, "It feels like I'm on a trial living program with a stranger." "You're not that strange." "What are you?" "Is my husband." I was mildly depressed for 2 seconds because of this guy's playfulness. I went back to work after a 24-hour unromantic honeymoon. When I left the door, he stood by the car waiting for me. He was going to take me to work? Yes. I don't need a driver, I can go by myself. But I work downtown. Traffic jam that morning. I have priority car. I heard that was very reasonable, very logical, and had no room for rebuttal. And so I was forced to sit in a luxury car, listen to soft music, drink quality coffee, and listen to him read the company meeting schedule. Even though I have nothing to do with it, why are you telling me these things? Oh, just a habit. Normally in the morning, he often sits and talks with me. My head was full of coffee. This person doesn't seem normal. That evening, I walked into my room to find a brand new air purifier. What is this? I'm allergic to dust, you know that. Last time I went on a trip, CP Story complained about stuffy nose. I remember. I sat down on the bed. At that time, I posted exactly 1 story of 24 songs without tagging anyone or releasing Hinchi. But he knew. The next morning, there was a new pair of furry slippers in the closet, right on my feet. I swear, I didn't say a word or breathe a word about the slippers being a bit slippery. Come do. I look at you seriously. Are you playing the role of national husband? He just replied blandly. No. I just thought, if I were your husband, I would prepare these things. My heart skipped a beat, and I looked at my slippers thinking, I'm fine, just a little hormonal. Calm down. A week later, I asked my best friend to go out for milk tea. Her friend asked, how does it feel to live with a handsome CEO? In the morning, there is coffee with the right taste. I have soft slippers with the right quality. The fridge has my favorite juice. The bookshelf has my favorite books. And my husband seems to be a die-hard fan of mine. My friend opened his mouth wide. You're not the female lead in the movie Youth CEO, are you? I am not. What movie has a scene where music is played at night? This morning I heard about the company needing schedule and haven't received any messages yet. Remember to wear a mask when you go out. What? Is the photo real? I showed my phone. The message still had the cat face emoji and a mask. My friend was silent for a second. Oh, well, maybe you should get married for real. I laughed and then asked myself again. Am I not married? That night, I walked into the room, intending to call him out to talk for a bit, but he was asleep on the sofa, his laptop still open. On the screen is a picture of the interior design I'm working on. Not everyone has access to it. I came closer to take a closer look. He noted and adjusted the lighting angle to suit the customer's living habits. He didn't tell me, didn't brag. I sat down on the opposite chair, looking at his sleeping face, still calm, still trustworthy. And I wondered, if this man really liked me for a long time like he said, is that possible? I also started to like him since the day we drank that cup of coffee. One moody afternoon, I came home earlier than usual. I was about to go straight to my room, but saw the door to Bak Kamzi's office slightly open. Curious, in a somewhat impolite way, I stopped. A red line appeared in my head. Don't be curious about your husband's private life, unless he is too mysterious and knows everything about you. I stepped lightly in. The space was so neat and tidy that I felt like I was stepping on the floor in an insulting way. On his desk was an open laptop. Next to it was a photo frame face down. Normally, I'm not curious, but today it's hot, my brain is lacking oxygen, my hand automatically picks up the photo frame. The back is an old, very old photo. I see myself more specifically. Me at 15 years old, wearing high school uniform, hair tied up like an onion, smiling widely with no sense of aesthetics. Behind is the school hallway, the sunlight is slanting in. It looks like a youth movie, except the main character doesn't know he's being secretly photographed. I froze, feeling my heart skip a strange beat. The problem is I can't remember who took that photo, nor do I remember meeting Bak Kamzui in high school. That name was completely unfamiliar to me before entering the fateful marriage registration ceremony. Yet now I live with the man who has my old photo frame on his desk. Not creepy, just a little too infatuated. What are you doing? I turned around in surprise. He stood at the door, shirt sleeves rolled up, glass of water in hand, eyes on me as if he had guessed what had just happened. I fumbled to put the picture frame down I just walked past. Wind filled the open door. Well, that's convenient. Did you see it? No. I reflexively denied it, but my face was as red as an overcooked tomato. He walked over, not angry, just smiled lightly. The kind of smile that makes one want to blame oneself for looking around. That photo was taken by him. I swallowed. I don't remember meeting him in high school. I don't remember. But I remember very clearly. Is this the time I should run away from this room? That year he was in grade 12, I was in grade 10. I once lent him my umbrella on a rainy day. Remember? I grimaced. My brain flipped through my memory hard drive looking for rain data. Even though the senior student is handsome, I couldn't find a file named Bak Kamzui. Sorry, my memory is not very good. He shook his head, still smiling. No problem. Because you are good to everyone equally, I don't expect to be remembered. I just got punched with a velvet glove. He continued, his voice slow. I liked you back then, but didn't dare say it. You are the type of person who shines brightly, while I just stand back and watch. Hey, has anyone ever told you that you're the main character in a 10-year unrequited love affair that you don't even know about? I clenched my fists. So why didn't you say so earlier? Because I have my own life. He just wanted to protect, not interfere. And the solution is to marry me. No, you look at me like both parents want it that way. He just didn't refuse. I was silent. My heart, even though it has been through many love dramas in college, still cannot withstand this kind of invisible infatuation. I'm sorry, I didn't remember. You don't need to apologize, he laughed. I live very brightly. No one blames the sun for not seeing a blade of grass behind it. Oh my God, who allowed you to say those words without blushing and heart beating fast? There was silence for a few seconds. Then I spoke in a small voice. So, do you have any more photos? He didn't reply, but he opened his laptop and clicked on a folder. Folder name Ki Sanu horizontal in place. And further are nearly 10 photos, not many, but enough for me to understand that he has been looking at me for a long, long time. One step, I was standing buying milk tea. One step, I was smiling at my best friend. One step, I was writing on the board in my first workshop. The moments I didn't know I was imprinted in someone's eyes. When did you save it? Since it was a JPEG image before clowning. You have a problem. I know. We looked at each other. I burst out laughing. I don't know why in that moment I didn't feel scared. I just found it a little funny and a little touching. A cold-hearted person like him, who controls the whole company with a few clicks, still keeps such small things. That night, I stood on the balcony, the wind blowing gently, my mind still hazy as if I had accidentally drunk sugar syrup. Mrs. Kamzu came out and gave me a cup of hot tea. No coffee, no milk tea, just warm chamomile. You look tired. I'm digesting the fact that I married my high school crush. He smiled and stood next to me, our hands not touching, close enough to hear each other's breathing. So how do you feel? I was silent for a few seconds, then turned to look at him, a little pressured, but also a little warm. He said nothing, just nodded slightly. I took a sip of tea and asked, "What if I also liked you that year?" He turned, his eyes as deep as a lake. "Then I may have been your wife 10 years earlier." I laughed and hid my face in my teacup. Damn it, why do I feel my heart flutter? This morning, I woke up to an undescribable scent wafting through the crack in my door. Not coffee, nor the expensive perfume that Kamzuzays often. It smells like fried eggs and garlic bread. Just the kind of thing I do when a deadline is looming and I need the energy of 3 superheroes. I walk downstairs with my hair in a mess and an oversized hoodie on. Honestly, I don't care much about my image when living on paper with a polite and extremely unassuming man. But today the man is wearing an apron. Yes, that's right. Light blue journal. Kamzi Dake's stepsister didn't look unfazed. Instead, he stands by the kitchen like a food magazine poster that can tell what he's cooking. I will wash it and then we will get married. I stood frozen for 3 seconds, then coughed softly. "What time do you get up?" 6:30. He turned back and placed the plate of eggs on the table. "You like it hot, right?" I nodded mechanically, sat down on the chair, only one big word in my head. I look, go, eat eggs were perfectly runny, the bread was crispy but not dry, and there were some sliced fruit on the side, and a glass of almond milk, the kind I drink with my coffee. Not knowing what to say, I ate and was surprised, very surprised. It's so delicious. I looked at him, eyes squinting suspiciously. "Where did you learn to cook?" My video. Last year I posted a story of me trying to make garlic bread, which included a short clip of me tending the fire and mumbling, "Yes, this is how it tastes best." He learned from me. I wanted to ask if he understood, but I felt that sentence was not suitable for a man who woke up early to cook breakfast for his personal taste because he remembered that you liked it that way. So I silently enjoyed the meal with my heart beating like a drum during exam season. I went to work in a state of not understanding myself. My feet walking on the street, my mind replaying the scene of my CEO husband wearing an apron, cooking for his wife, and wiping his hands on a towel like a 5-star restaurant chef. The more I think about it, the more I see myself as the female protagonist in the online novels I used to secretly read under my desk. But the strangest thing, I don't find strange anymore. At first, I found his knowing me well unbelievable, a bit creepy and very unscientific. But gradually, the little things he did were exactly to my liking, from not adding onions to the food, leaving Post-it, "Don't forget to bring a jacket on cold days." As far as switching toothpaste to the one I said tasted like silver cookies, I felt my heart soften. Not because I'm easy, but because no one has ever treated me like that. I came home late that night. Deadline eyes are dark like a panda about to become extinct. I opened the door to the house so tired I just wanted to roll on the floor. But before I could act out the scene where the female lead was exhausted from life, I saw that the light in the kitchen was still on. "He is heating up the soup." "Have you eaten?" he asked. I shook my head. "I'll leave the part with the seaweed soup you like." I sat down at the table with my head resting on my hands. "Who are you? Studying is okay?" I just noticed. The words were as light as the wind, but in my head they echoed like summer thunder. We ate dinner in silence, but for the first time, the silence didn't make me feel embarrassed. It made me feel peaceful. After dinner, I was about to clean up when he gave me a towel. "Go take a bath. Let me wash." "Aren't you tired?" "Tired, but I'm more tired. I'm crazy about you." I laughed dryly, knowing the dark side. "Are you studying me down to my pores?" "Or not, but I often complain about dark circles under my eyes like pandas every time I stay up late, and today?" I said nothing. I froze. He is starting to understand even the things I don't say. After taking a shower, I went out and saw him lying on the sofa, covered with a thin blanket, holding a book on interior design. "What are you reading this for?" I asked. "Dry hair?" "To understand more about her work." I paused for a moment. "It's true that having a lover will read your favorite books with you, watch movies you like, but I only see one husband who reads books about his professional field to understand his wife's passion. Are you trying to impress me?" He smiled without denying. I sat down on the edge of the sofa. "Mrs. Kamzu, if you knew me like this from the beginning, why did you only show it after we got married?" He looked at me, his eyes deep and gentle as if he was releasing a sunset into my heart. "Because I'm afraid of scaring you, afraid you'll think I'm overdoing it. I wait until you are ready to receive what I want to give." I was silent. For the first time, I didn't know what to say. There was only one line flashing in my head. Oh my God, what did I marry? That night, I lay in my room, not because I was uncomfortable, but because my heart was beating fast. Such a man, living quietly, delicately, kindly, understanding every little detail of me, has quietly been present in my life all this time. No roses, no diamond rings, no flirting. I just know you like soft-boiled eggs, so I woke up early to cook them. I pulled the blanket over my face and screamed in my heart, "Kamzu, your implication is too dangerous." I always think the rainy season is annoying. Thick, wet hair, flat body, sticky, damp smell like a forgotten towel. Not to mention the traffic jam, the taxi didn't bother to take me, and I forgot to bring my umbrella. And just like the curse of the universe, today when I was wearing a white dress, hair tied up, pretty makeup to meet a client, it rained. A sudden, heavy rain, as if the sky poured a lake of water down because it had run out of patience with humanity. I stood in the lobby of the building, watching the cars running in the rain, feeling like crying. My phone was out of battery. I didn't call a cab, I didn't text, and most importantly, I didn't bring an umbrella. The only umbrella I trust is a silver gray one with the small words, "Not today," printed on the border, sitting obediently in the corner of the house. Because this morning, I subjectively thought the gray clouds were shoulders, not signals. "Damn it," I muttered, covered my head with my coat, and tried to run out. And just as I took a breath, preparing to leap like an Olympian, "No." A familiar voice rang out behind him. I turned around and saw Kamzu standing there, shirt slightly wet, hair wet with rain, holding umbrella, eyes full of tears. "You think I can't find you? How did you know I was here? I have a guest schedule in my app, but I often get stuck when checking in." I sighed. "You really didn't miss any detail of me, did you?" "I didn't mean to, I just got used to it." I looked at him and then at the pouring rain, feeling a bit like I was in slow motion in a movie. "Did you bring me an umbrella?" "Yes, take me home. I have one left in the car." I stood still for a few seconds, not understanding why, in this strange moment, in the rain, in the noisy streets, in a life where nothing is certain, the sentence, "You take me home," made my heart ache. A seemingly simple saying. We walked out of the building. He opened the umbrella and tilted it towards me. Strong wind, water splashed across the face, but the umbrella he held kept just enough distance so my hair wouldn't get wet. I turned to look at Kamzu. His left shoulder was wet. He tilted the umbrella towards me. "Yeah, it's okay if your shoulder gets wet." But he is not Superman. He smiled. "No need to be a superhero. Just someone who can shield me from the rain." I was silent. Something ran through my heart, jumping and screaming, "Sister, you subscribed to my husband." On the way home, I sat still, not looking at my phone, not talking, just watching the rain through the window. My head was replaying the image of his wet shoulder, his eyes looking at me sideways, his voice low as he said, "As long as I'm the one who shields you from the rain, I really like you, right?" When I got home, I changed my clothes, dried my hair, and sat looking at the hot milk he had left on the table. not coffee, not milk tea, hot milk. Because today is cold, tired, late, and raining. Taking a sip, I sighed, not because of the milk, but because my heart was a little weak. That night, I went out to the balcony. He was there too, laptop in hand, but the screen was off. I stood next to him, both of us leaning on the railing, looking down at the city where it was still drizzling. I used to hate rain, I said, softly. What about now? Don't hate it so much anymore? Because someone brought an umbrella. He smiled and said nothing. I turned to look at him. Mrs. Kamzu, you still like me, right? He turned to look at me for a long time and then nodded. I never stopped loving you. No frills, no drama, no, I love you like breathing. Just a gentle sentence enough to make me choke up. I didn't say anything more. I just walked a little closer to him, close enough to touch shoulders, close enough to hear my own heartbeat and hope it matched the rhythm of the person next to me. That night, I lay in bed with the music turned down low as usual, but this time I don't listen to forget life. I listen to remember the person who braved the rain just to give me an umbrella. I used to believe that a marriage without love was just two strangers sharing a household registration. I thought so too, at first. The so-called marriage contract my parents left me, in my eyes, was just a kind of traditional bondage. I would never have set foot in it if my father's company was on a roller coaster. And now, 3 months after signing that red paper, I find myself starting to have problems. The problem is I don't want to leave this marriage anymore. I sat on the bed looking at the invitation in my hand, an invitation to my in-laws' 30th wedding anniversary party, a grand and luxurious ceremony with reporters coming to cover the news. Back Kamzu knocked on the door, holding another dress. That set doesn't fit very well. I ordered this set. You try it on. I looked up. Light beige dress. Simple, elegant style. Yes, my type. More precisely, the type I've always chosen, but never shared with anyone. How did you choose the right one? I've seen you put the same dress in your cart 3 times. Remember everything? Are you an artificial brain? He smiled, but did not answer. That party, I walked in with him. Under the crystal chandelier, among so many strange faces, I realized I was not lost, because just by turning around a little bit, I saw him standing next to me, always. Throughout the party, I smiled and talked politely, my hand still resting lightly on his elbow out of courtesy and a sense of security. An elderly guest came over to look at me and smiled friendly. Is this girl your wife? They look like a perfect match. How long have you been married? I was still thinking of how to answer with a filter when Bak Kamdoy said yes for more than 3 months. But I thought long enough to know I didn't want to change people. I turned to look at him. His smile was very faint, very polite, very CEO-like. But I found my lips pursed as my heart pounded. At night, I removed my makeup and sat down to apply moisturizer when he knocked on the door, holding my bottle of vitamin candy in his hand. How do you know I often forget to take this? Last week, I grumbled in the office why I bought it but didn't drink it, then promised myself I would drink it tomorrow. I held the candy jar, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Inside is my favorite, grape flavor, not orange like the box I bought by mistake last time. I muttered, "You're really free. I don't know how you liked me back then. You raised your bar and got a full-service husband." He leaned his shoulder against the doorframe. He was busy. It was just that when you pay attention to someone long enough, everything about that person naturally becomes a habit. I couldn't sleep. There was a strange but warm feeling lingering in my chest. I remember the way he looked at me at the party. I remember the way he handed me the vitamins without asking, and I realized I was starting to not only like him, but want to keep him around. The next morning, I secretly made him coffee. For the first time since we got married, I took the initiative to do something for him first. Feels like doing national duty. I wake up early, check the water temperature, measure the milk, and froth it. It was all very professional until I spilled it all over my glass while cleaning backstage and he walked out. "What are you doing?" I turned back, hair still messy, towel in hand like a thief caught red-handed. "Oh, I make coffee." He walked over and picked up the glass to take a sip. I looked at him anxiously, as if waiting for the teacher to grade the final exam. "Delicious," he said. "Better than the restaurant." I knew he was exaggerating, but I was so happy that I almost dropped my spoon in my glass. That morning, I secretly looked at him a lot. Not because he dressed well, dressing well was something he had done since birth, but because I realized that in every small movement, he was very gentle. He tore bread for me, brushed my hair behind my ear when I bent down to get something, and put his hand on my shoulder when I paused because of the deadline message. He didn't do big things. He just made me want to love him in a very small way. I went back to my room, opened my phone, and saw that in my close friends group, someone texted me, "How's your handsome husband doing?" I sat there looking at that message for a long time. It was the first time I didn't reply normally, like usual. I typed, "I thought I was falling for him." I'm not the type of person who likes to pry into other people's private lives, but today I was tempted. The reason was because Kamdoi's silver gray laptop was left carelessly on the desk. The light on without locking the screen is like telling me to come in. I allow it. I should have ignored it, but I was about to call him for dinner when I saw an open folder on the screen called Kisan Private. Uppercase hyphens are private. That's when my curiosity got the better of my conscience. I took a breath, clicked inside. There were no photos, nor was there an Excel file at the table of height, weight, mood, cycle, hormones, like I imagined. There is only one file of the journal that is not sent. I clicked open on May 12th. She posted a photo of her drinking milk tea. Still the same flavor with no sugar and little ice, less topping with tapioca pearls. Still the same clear plastic cup, and her hand holding the cup like she was afraid it would get cold and lose its feeling. I saw the photo and laughed all day. I don't know, but when you drink milk tea, my world tastes sweet. I stopped. On June 17, I attended my first seminar, so nervous that I stumbled 3 times, but at the end of the day, I still smiled brightly. He stood behind, not daring to step forward, afraid that she wouldn't remember who he was, but he still kept the photo of him kissing her. "You shine like a star, and I know I can't love anyone else." I swallowed. Each short paragraph had a few lines. No color, no exaggeration, just small observations about me, each seemingly meaningless moment that he remembered until now. Date: today I move old posts to blog. Still silly writing style, still messy sentences, but I write with my heart. I read it 3 times and wondered if one day you might write about me. I put my hand on my chest. My heart was beating very fast. Click. The door opened and Mrs. Kamdwi walked in. I turned back, my hands still on the keyboard. He paused for a second and looked at me. No anger, no avoidance, just a look that seemed to be prepared for a long time. "Have you read it?" I nodded. "When did you write all this?" "Since I was 17. The day you gave me the umbrella in the rain." I opened my mouth. "Is it true? The story of the trap?" "Yeah, I forgot." But he did not forget. "Are you going to hide it forever?" "Or not?" "I just don't think you will believe it." I clenched my fists. My eyes are stinging. Not because of shock, but because someone had loved me for so long without me knowing it. "Why not say?" I asked. "Why don't you confess? Don't do anything, but just stand behind that way." He sat down in the chair opposite me, looking straight into my eyes. "Because I'm a person who likes freedom. I'm afraid if I get too close, you'll feel tied down." I laughed. My voice choked. But in the end, he married me not to possess me, but because he thought if life gave him a chance, he would use it to treat me well. As a husband, or as someone who just gets to walk beside you. I was silent for a long time, and then asked, "You know what? I used to think you were a stranger. I hated marrying someone I didn't love. I used to consider you a stranger on paper." He smiled. He knew. But now it's different. How is it different? I looked up at him. Now I see if I leave him, I will miss him. So memorable. No one said anything, no background music, no romantic rain, just two people looking at each other in the soft yellow light of the table lamp. And I know, for the first time since this marriage has begun, I love him. Actually. That night, I lay in bed hugging a small pillow. Can't sleep because of my heart. My heart beats faster every time I remember the look in your eyes just now. Because every line of that unsent diary, every word is calm, but contains a whole youth that he quietly reserved for me. And I thought to myself that if someone had ever secretly loved me like that, I could not ignore it for the rest of my life. I've heard people say that some relationships start from a very small moment, but if you love someone long enough, it will turn into a lifetime. I think I'm starting to get it. More specifically, I began to understand the man named Bak Kamdu. That night after I finished reading the diary file on my laptop, I couldn't sleep. My eyes were wide open as if caffeine was pumped straight into my veins. Not because of shock, not because of shame, but because a strange feeling rose in my heart, as if someone's entire youth had just poured into my heart. The next morning, I took the initiative to knock on his door. Free. He is reading a book. Hearing my question, he closed the book, pulled up a chair, and was free to be with me. I step in more naturally than before. It's not because we are as intimate as in some Korean movie, but because my heart no longer has a fence. I sat down on the opposite chair. I wanted to hear everything. About the umbrella when I was 17, about the times I don't remember, but you remember clearly. He looked at me for a long time and then nodded. That year, he was in grade 12. I was in grade 10. One rainy day, he forgot to bring an umbrella and stood waiting in the hallway, soaked to the skin. People passed him by. No one noticed, and he didn't care. Until you stopped, handed him a turquoise folding umbrella, and walked away. No words. I laughed. Still keeping it? Still available. Even though it's broken, it still holds. I looked at him, my eyes slightly stinging. I did not remember who you were at that time. But for me, from that moment on, you began to have a separate corner in my world. I follow your personal page, read your messy posts, and remember the story of you crying when you failed the literature exam because of your choice of topic. You just live brightly, happily, sometimes clumsily like a little cat. But I only dare to look from afar. I think as long as you are happy, that's enough. I rested my chin on my hand and squinted. Were you very confused at that time? No, I find it very cute. I sighed, pretending to be bored. I must have been ugly back then. Back then, I often tied my hair to one side, carried a backpack with one strap, and smiled when I finished eating flan. But nothing is bad. My heart is melting right now. No need to wait another sentence. I poured 2 cups of tea and gave him one. Cam Jewy, little brother, I really didn't notice you during that time. I know, and I don't blame. But why do I still remember and love you for so long? Because I have never seen anyone like you. I chuckled. So if I didn't marry you that day, would you have come to find me? He looked at me for a long time and then gently shook his head. I won't force you, but I will be close to you, close enough that if one day you turn around, you will see me there. I put the cup of tea down on the table and said softly, Then I'll turn around now. He looked up, his eyes bright, as if there was a soft light behind his glasses. What? I turned around and I saw you there, so I won't turn away this time. The space is quiet now. He smiled, a smile that I was sure I would want to see every morning from now on. Then let me be by your side for the rest of my life. That night, I lay on the sofa with my head on his shoulder, next to him, still holding his laptop but not working. I tilted my head to look at him. Cam Jewy, can I ask a silly question? You keep asking. How long did it take for me to realize I couldn't love anyone else? He thought for a while. There was no specific time. It was just that he had tried to find someone like her, but the more he searched, the more he realized that there was no copy of Ha Ki-san. I chuckled. Are you bouncing me to keep me? No, I'm telling the truth. You're not perfect, you're clumsy, forgetful, and sometimes careless, but I've never seen anyone so lovable. I pulled my legs up, pretending to hide my face, not because I was embarrassed, but because I was smiling like an idiot. I fell asleep on the sofa. When I woke up, he had covered me with a blanket and left a small piece of paper next to the first time you slept in his arms. He would remember this sleep, like he had remembered everything about you. I hugged the paper to my chest and told myself, from now on, if anyone asked me if my parents were sad about getting married, I would smile and say yes. But if I married someone who always secretly loved me, it would be the luckiest thing in my life. I used to think my heart was stubborn. It only vibrated when there were fireworks, background music, or at least a collision that was destined at first sight. But now, I was liking a man I used to call a contracted yang. Not explosive, not overwhelming, just liking him gently, clearly, without interruption. I woke up late this morning, my eyes drooping like a sleep-deprived panda. Just stepping out of the room, I saw Bok Kam-jui wearing a white shirt, holding a phone standing in the kitchen. You can sleep a little longer, there is no morning meeting today. You know my schedule? I stick the calendar right on the refrigerator. I forgot that. He pulled up a chair and put the plate of bread on the table. Try the grilled banana peanut butter sandwich today. I used to drive this formula, but it was probably bad. I sat down, took a bite, and nodded. Surprisingly delicious? I know, because I tried it first. I looked at him and nodded slowly. Kam-jui, are you the prototype of the national husband? No, I'm just learning to be your husband. My heart just skipped a beat. Can't be saved anymore. That afternoon, I went to the mini supermarket near my house. I usually go alone, but today, for some reason, I asked him to come along. Going to the supermarket, he was surprised. Yes. Buy some miscellaneous things? What's up? Cake, shower gel, dryer sheets, dish soap, and some hand cream. He tilted his head, his lips slightly curled. I probably want to drag you, who can't tell the difference between a boyfriend and a face wash, to buy dryer sheets. I'm sure. And so we had our first date at the mini-mart. I pushed the cart, he walks beside. His hand absent-mindedly touched mine several times. At first I pretended not to know, but on the fourth time I stopped. Did you drop something? Not. My hand is just a little used to touching you. I looked at him for a second and then looked away. Pretend to pick out some snacks. My heart. Can I be your snack? At the facial cleanser counter. I was choosing a new one when I heard him from behind. I used to use lavender, but recently you switched to peach scent, right? I turned back with wide eyes. How do you know? Because when I hold you lately, I smell something different. Unlike the first few months when I almost dropped the entire shelf. When did you hug me that you remember so clearly? Every morning, every night, every time I fall asleep on the sofa or dream about a deadline and swing my arms at you. I blushed and raised the box of cleanser. You can wash your face with this later. To reduce the smell. He smiled and picked up another bottle. Take 2 when I changed the scent again. In the evening, I sat on the sofa watching movies. The movie was nothing special, but I kept looking at him. He was cutting fruit in the kitchen, his hands so skilled that I was suspicious. Were you chef before you became a CEO? I put my feet up on the sofa, propped my chin up and looked at him. I'm starting to like the way he tilts his head when he peels an apple. I like the way he puts the knife down gently without making a sound. And what I like most is the way he always remembers every little thing about me, even though I forgot everything. I was absent-minded when he placed a plate of fruit in front of me. Eat. I like cantaloupe, you know. I held the piece of melon and stared at him. This guy? If I told you I was starting to love you, what would you do? He paused for a moment and then sat down across from me, so serious that my heart skipped a beat. I'm telling the truth. I used to think I just liked it, but these past few days, I've been thinking differently. Different? I miss you when you're not around. Yeah, I feel happy when I see you. I feel safe when I walk beside you. Yeah, and I started wanting to do something for you, not just receive. Yeah. I frowned. What do you mean by, yeah? He leaned toward me, smiling slightly as he tried to hold back from rushing over and hugging me. I blushed and poked his shoulder. If you dare to jump over, I will scream that you are harassing a contract marriage. No one will believe me even if I scream because I am your legal wife. I laughed so hard that I buried my face in the pillow. He spoke softly so only I could hear. You don't need to say you love me clearly. Just like looking at me like today is enough. That night, I quietly opened my phone and wrote in my diary that I didn't remember who he was. But now, I miss you every day. Maybe my heart, though slow, has learned how to love the right person at the right time. And that person is my husband. I don't like reading gossip. But this morning, while sitting in a coffee shop waiting for customers, scrolling my phone to kill time, I saw a huge headline on a tabloid news site. The billionaire Cam Dewey was told by me that his marriage had ended and he moved out to live on his own. I almost dropped the cup of tea I had just brought to my mouth. And then there's the blurry photo chaos. A man who looked like him entered the luxury apartment building, walking next to a long-haired girl in a white dress. White dress, dim light, not clear face, but still enough for the internet to work. Imagine if my brain could read the whole article. My hands were shaking slightly, although my mind was still trying to appear alert. Nothing. Online news. Cam Dewey didn't say anything. Maybe someone took the wrong photo. But my heart wouldn't cooperate. I closed my laptop, took out my phone, and texted a simple line. Where are you? Sent messages received, but not shown as read. 5 minutes? 10 minutes? No reply. I started to get angry at myself, at the fake news site, and at him because he made me love him so much that just one unclear news was enough to make me confused. I came home and slammed the door so hard I almost dropped the ice bucket. My heart is a mess. I'm not the jealous type. But why does it hurt so much this time? I'm not a good possessive person. I don't like to control, but feelings are fragile, and Cam Dewey is the first person I don't want to share. Around 7 p.m., the door opened and he walked in, carrying a bag of food. Same as usual, shirt, trousers, slightly messy hair, calm face. I sat on the sofa, arms crossed, looking at him, saying nothing. He looked at me for a moment. Did you read it? I nodded. Do you believe it? I was silent. I'm angry. I remained silent. He put down his bag and walked towards me. I am going to see my mother today. The woman in the picture is his cousin. What's that? She just came back to the country. His mother asked him to take her to the apartment for rent. Why don't you text me? He put his phone on silent during the meeting, then forgot to turn it back on. I squinted. Why go into the apartment at night and not choose another time? You want me to take my cousin out in the sunny day so netizens can take clearer pictures? I know you're right, but I still don't think I'll see anything. I thought you would ask me before imagining the whole tragedy of divorcing me. He leaned down, resting his hands on the sofa, looking at me from just enough distance to make my heart beat rapidly. Kisan, what are you afraid of? I sat down. I'm not scared. I'm just upset because I'm jealous. I looked up to protest, but his eyes seemed to see through all my defenses. I'm jealous because I love you. So you're not angry? Just next time, instead of reading online news, can you choose to call me? I sat still for a moment and then gasped. You know, I used to think that if our relationship was a contract, it would end at some point. He was silent. I continued. But now, when I see just a rumor, it's enough to make my head go crazy. I just realized I don't want to see you as a contract anymore. He pulled me up, gently rubbing my shoulders. I never considered you a contract. Kisan looked at him. I know. And he also has no intention of ending anything, unless you want to leave. I shook my head. Very quickly, very firmly. I don't want to. He smiled slightly. Then we don't pretend anymore. I agree. I nodded. He pulled me into his arms. A hug with no background music, no fireworks, just your heartbeat and mine. Be one. That night, I lay in my room texting my best friend. I used to think love was a matter of the heart, but now I see that love is also a matter of trust. And for the first time, I felt secure having someone to lean on. It was drizzling outside. I heard him typing softly on the keyboard from his office. Then footsteps approached and a knock at the door. Can I come in? Come in. He walked in, holding a turquoise umbrella in his hand. The old umbrella I once gave to a stranger in the rain. He handed it to me, saying gently, I just fixed it. I held my eyes. I had forgotten it. It's okay to forget me, because now you remember, and I believe you won't forget this time. I don't know how many years people can spend liking someone who doesn't know who they are, but I know someone who did that for 10 years, and today he took me to meet his world where, as he said, only I existed. We went out of the city to a small house in the suburbs. The house was simple, painted white, with bougainvillea on the porch and the sound of the wind blowing through like a gentle background music. Where is this? I asked. Where he kept the most important things. I walked in. The air was cool and light, the smell of new wood mixed with the smell of old paper and a little cinnamon. On the wall were a series of photo frames, not wedding photos, not event photos, but photos of me. There were photos of me in high school, my hair tied high, standing smiling next to my bicycle. There were photos of me at my first presentation, my hands shaking with paper, but my eyes still bright. There were photos of me falling asleep on the desk in the letter hospital. Mom posted it to remind herself, don't eat instant noodles anymore. How long have I been standing there stunned? Every year he chooses one, the one he remembers best. 10 years, 10 photos, one person. I turned to look at him. He kept all of this just because it was me. He took me into the small room inside. Private space, beige walls, soft yellow lights. On the table is a large wooden box. He opened it. Inside were seemingly meaningless items. A silver pen I once dropped in a conference. A piece of paper with a cat drawn it. A bottle cap of mineral water, the kind I usually drink. The color is a bit blurry. I shook my hands as I picked up each item. Every little thing carries a moment that I passed by, and you stayed. I keep all this for you? Yes, but why never say? He looked at me, eyes softening, because I'm afraid if I say it, you will feel pressured. I'm afraid I will think I'm a stalker, not a lover. I shed tears without making noise, without sobbing, just tears flowing naturally because no one has ever loved me like that. Love without asking, love but willing to stand behind, love but just want me to live the way I want. I sat down on the chair. He knelt on one knee in front of me. Kisan, I once asked why you accepted to marry according to your parents' wishes. Well, I didn't intend to agree at first. I looked up. He smiled slightly, but when he knew it was you, he felt like the whole world turned back into place. You think I'm surprised? He knew it in advance because his father had already revealed it. So when I thought this was just a contract, you thought if this is the way to get close to me, then you accept it. Whether it's just a year or a month, I take the bait, my hands clutching my shirt. At that time, I didn't know anything. You knew, and you never blamed me. He put his hand on mine, his eyes looking deeply as if it was just the two of us in this world. But from beginning to end, the person I chose was always you. We sat like that for a long time, the wind blowing through the crack in the door, the pale sunlight outside like a warm blanket covering the sky. I sighed. Kemdui? If I apologize for not realizing it sooner, is it too late? He shook his head. For him, just you looking at me is enough. I laughed through my tears. Then I choose you too. From now on, we left the house in the evening. In the car, I leaned on his shoulder. For the first time, I felt like I was actually in a real relationship, not just emotional, but trusting. A marriage that starts by chance, but ends with an irreplaceable love. That evening, when I got home, I found an envelope on the table. I opened it. Inside was a new marriage certificate. I looked at him blankly. What is this? Old marriage certificate arranged by parents? Yeah, and this is the version we submitted ourselves, because I want you to choose it yourself this time. I laughed, tears welling up again. I signed without hesitation, no longer out of responsibility, no longer out of coercion, but because my heart had chosen him without knowing when. I used to think you were a stranger. Yeah, a stranger who knew I liked to drink milk tea with home flavor. A stranger who kept my old paper notes. A stranger who stood behind me for 10 years. He smiled lightly and held my hand. Kiam is now my husband. He chose life. That night, we went home. Still the old apartment, still the same living room, still the sofa where I used to hide and blush because he said something too sweet. I sat down and opened the wedding gift box my best friend gave me, a notebook with the title, "Marriage is a contract that two people sign together, but it's only beautiful when both of us volunteer every day." I looked at him, resting his chin on his hand. If tomorrow I'm not as beautiful as today, then so. I still love you. If in the future you nag, make a mess, or snore, I'll buy you a new wardrobe, an air purifier, or earplugs, but I'll still love you. If you forget the anniversary, do not buy fruit, I reminded him, and bought it myself, but I still love it. If one day I stop loving you, he tilted his head and said in a low voice, then I will make you love me again. I burst out laughing at that answer. It didn't need any flowery poetry, but it really made my heart flutter. We sat together looking at our wedding photos. No Photoshop, no embellishments, just the way I look at him and the way he looks at me are both very clear. I used to think love was something that came later, but it turned out it was there first. I just had to learn to recognize it. And today, when I placed a kiss on his lips in the middle of a small room with warm yellow light, I knew this was not the end of a contract, but the beginning of a very real journey of two people choosing each other every day. I looked at him and said softly, Kyamdui, well, today you are still the one I choose, and tomorrow I will still choose you, even if I wake up in the morning with my hair standing up like a crow's nest. He laughed, pulled me into his arms, and he had chosen me 10 years ago, and from now on, it will be forever. I closed my eyes gently. And so a marriage that began with a signature on a piece of paper ended with a real kiss, a kiss of love.